My wealthiest client was worth $22 million. And their mindset was different, right? Growing up in the hood, I thought the person who had the thing was the richest, right? My $22 million guy looked like a bum, right? He had a t-shirt on all the time.
He had a whip.
Yeah, none of that.
Jewels, none of that.
He walked in the bank and people will walk past him.
Hey, what's going on, family? Welcome to the Traffic Sales and Profit Show. If you are a Black entrepreneur, right, trying to figure out how can I grow and scale my business, or you're trying to figure out how can I get the principles, the wealth, so I can make more money, create more money, and then pass that money down to a legacy, you're in the right spot. And today, I mean, this is the perfect conversation because I got my man in the building. You know, I had to get a few episodes done before I brought this dude in, right?
I was wondering, man. I was feeling kind of way. I saw my friends on here. I said, "Yo, Lamar hit me up for an episode yet, man."
Y'all, listen,
Yes,
Ash Cash in the building, and Mr. Abundance is your birthright.
Yes, sir.
And I'm excited to have you on. But I'm serious. I was like, look, Ash is professional out here. I was like, you know, me, Alex, and the crew, we can't be fumbling around.
Appreciate you.
Episode 2 or 3, even though I'm sure to get the eyeballs, man.
Yeah.
But thank you for being on.
No, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you for being on. So for the people that don't know you, how do you introduce yourself to them?
Man, Ash Cash, the financial motivator. I just help people live in abundance. I help people realize their God-given ability so that they could have anything that they desire in life. I'm somebody who was a former 15-year banking executive, but grew up in the projects in Harlem, St. Nicholas projects, was told that I'd be dead or in jail by 25, by 24 as a VP at one of the largest financial institutions in the world. And I'm just the voice of the underdog. Anybody who's ever been told that they can't do something, use my life as an example. Like I have a shirt that says "I am greatness on display," and that's what I want. That's what I want my life to represent is greatness. But I want to display that greatness so anybody who's had ever any doubt about anything that they want to accomplish, they'll look at me and say, you know what? If Ash could do it, I could do it.
I love it. And what you said is something I was going to touch on. Because what I love about your viewpoint from money, wealth, all those type of things is actually your background. Because you got a background a lot of people don't have, where a lot of people are just, hey, passionate about it. I dig into it. I do some things. You like, hey, I literally was a VP at a bank.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that kind of gives you a different perspective and a different lens.
Yeah, 100%. So the crazy thing about it is when I started my career as a banker, it was just something that I was just like, yo, I want to make a lot of money, But as I went through all of the different positions in banking, from teller to personal banker, I want to say my position as a private banker is what changed my whole life. So, for me as a private banker, that's anybody who had at least 250,000 in investable assets or above. They had a banker assigned to them to help them, manage their money. My wealthiest client was worth $22 million. And their mindset was different. Right, growing up in the hood, I thought the person who had the thing was the richest. Right, my $22 million guy looked like a bum. Right, he had a t-shirt on all the time.
He had a whip.
Yeah, none of that.
Jewels, none of that.
He walked in the bank and you people will walk past him. But as I started to talk to him and manage his money and hear how he looks at wealth, looks at money. Even from a business perspective, like I remember there's a store in Harlem on 125th Street that he owned. He owned 2 stores that to the naked eye you thought were competitors, but he owned both of them. And so I'm thinking, like, why would you open 2 stores that are like identical to each other, right next to each other, thinking that it'll take away? But that's lack mentality, right?
Yeah.
Abundance mentality says and is better than or. And so what he taught me was, if one is doing well and there's a saturation in that market, then why reinvent the wheel? Why not just put a store right next to the one that's already doing well? The clientele is there. A lot of people want competition. They want choices.
Exactly.
And it's so crazy because now, like when I was growing up, I would go to that one store if I ain't like, if it was too busy, if it's too packed, and I ain't like what I don't like what y'all saying to me. I would go to the other store knowing that he cornered the market. So I think that position as a private banker, having access to wealthy people, seeing how they thought, changed my life forever. And Einstein says a mind that stretched to a new size never could stretch back. And so just seeing that helped me a lot. And when I became an entrepreneur, I just used sort of like those same wealth principles to create wealth for myself and my family, but then also teach it as well.
That's good. So let me dig back into that, what you were talking about for a little bit. So at a certain point, you said, okay, this is a career path I'm going into. But was it because of the money, because I want to be close to the money? Or was it just because, hey, that salary pays well? Like what was it that made you go into
Yo, honestly, it was like divine. Like I was working at Blockbuster Videos, fast shout to Blockbuster Videos, right? And I had
Ash grown out here.
Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you know. I know I look like a baby out here, but you know what I'm saying? I'm like a young OG out here. You know what I'm saying? I was working at Blockbuster Videos. I was like I started at 17, and then by 19, I had already become an assistant manager. The next step at Blockbuster was store manager. I was like, I don't want to really be a store manager. And fate would have it.
In retrospect, that probably was a good move.
Exactly. That was one of the best moves, right? But one of the assistant managers, she was working 2 jobs. She was working at Blockbuster and at Chase Bank.
Okay.
And one day she just came in and was like, yo, Chase is hiring. Like, do you want to, be a banker? And I was like, man, I got the experience already. And being a teller paid more than being assistant manager. And I already knew that I didn't want to be a store manager. And
Right.
I looked at bank and I was like, if I'm a teller making more money, at least, there's so many different things I could do. So I said, let me just try it. I didn't even know I would like it as much. But I think that the moment that I walked in there, I think the moment that changed my life, right? That's why representation is important. I walked in there and there was a black guy, fast shout to Michael Black, Jamaican, who was the branch manager in Madison Square Garden. I said, wow, like this black dude, like runs this whole thing. Like he's the boss. Like all of these white people, like he's the boss of everybody. I said, oh, and so it just made me realize that the opportunity was so much greater. And so as I, jumped in and just realized how good it was to help people manage money like this. It wasn't only about the money that I was making.
Yeah.
There was like this feeling where people would come in and you would give them solutions. And, banking in the past was like a service. It wasn't sales. You go into a bank now, they try to sell you something.
Right.
But before it was like a service. So they would like really sit down with you and ask you for solutions. And, and that was the most gratifying part of being a banker for me. And so I just wanted to keep saying like, you're like, how far can I take it? And the farthest I got was a CEO. I was a CEO of a credit union. And that was, I did that for about a year, but I was like, all right, now it's time, to take my talents, to South Beach, take my talents, take my talent, worldwide.
Yeah.
And then I started, doing financial education, writing books and things of that.
So how old were you when you were the CEO of
31.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
still was young.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think I was probably one of the youngest CEOs of a federally chartered bank at the time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, 31 years old.
So I know for a while, because you got numerous books and you started writing. Were you writing the books while you also were in the bank working those positions, or did that come later?
Yeah. So my first book came out in 2009. I actually remember writing in MindRight, MoneyRight, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. I opened a bank in Co-op City in the Bronx, brand new branch, $8 million project. I used to come to the bank early, and I wrote it on my BlackBerry. So I'm giving y'all, what I'm saying? This was 2008. I literally would come to the bank, sit, and be on my BlackBerry typing this book up. And so my first book, I was MindRight, MoneyRight, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. I actually wrote that while being a branch manager at Chase.
Wow.
And throughout the years, funny story though, Ash Cash is a nickname that I had when I was young. I was licensed at the time. Y'all can't do nothing to me now. I was licensed at the time, right, with Chase. So I had my 63, life, health. And when you're licensed, you have to get permission to do any outside activities.
Okay. And
so I could not write the book with the name Ash Exantus, which is my real name,
okay, yeah.
because they would find out. And so I was like, you know what? Ask for forgiveness, not for permission. So I was like, oh, let me use the alias Ash Cash, right? And then so I wrote the book, you know, under the name Ash Cash, was still a banker, right? It was like Superman, Clark Kent. You know what I'm saying? It was Ash Exantus, and then you know, Superman was Ash Cash, and you know, I wrote the book, and then eventually Ash Cash got bigger than Ash Exantus. In fact, like if you Google Ash Cash, Ash Exantus comes up and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So Ash Cash got bigger, and I just could never go back to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote, you know, I started writing the book while I was working at the bank. And then, you know, I've always been a believer of multiple streams of income. So even when, you know, I had, you know, jobs, I was still making sure that I was doing stuff on the side because, you know, at the end of the day, I didn't own the job,
Yeah.
right? I could get fired, downside, the recession, all that could happen. And what happens to me? But if I have a book, like I still to this day get paid from a book that I wrote in 2009.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? To this day. And it's a popular book. It got my face on it now. When I first wrote the first edition, it didn't have my face on it. But then once I wound up quitting, you know, the bank, I revised it, put my face on it. But it's one of my top selling books to this day. And so I love the motto, the wealth principle of changing your relationship with money, right? Instead of working hard for money, make money work hard for you. Create an asset that you do one time, that asset you created one time, and let it pay you over and over and over again.
This episode of the Traffic Sales and Profit podcast is brought to you by my book, Traffic Sales and Profit, the ultimate step-by-step guide to creating consistent business revenue online. I want to get you a free copy, right? Paperback copy at that. None of this digital mumbo jumbo. How do you get your hands on it? Go to www.freetspbook.com. That's good. And you know, and even what you talked about with the balancing the side hustle with your main job, right? That takes me back. I worked at a TV station, ran the IT department. And so because I was a manager, I had like certain paperwork I had to fill out in non-compete stuff. And I'll never forget going into HR and we were doing our first movie. And I was like, okay, this is a TV station.
Right.
And we doing like they didn't really care about none of the other stuff we're doing. And you know, they were like, you know, what's this thing you're doing? I was like, oh, it's a little movie.
Yeah.
This family and friends, nobody will ever see it, right? Then years later, here we are,
Exactly.
right? But I love that. Now, when you did the book, you launched the book. I want to talk about the transition between working the 9 to 5, leaving the bank, and then going full-time in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Was it at this point you got multiple books, they got money coming in, speaking gigs attached? Was it just the fact that, hey, you feel like the next phase of my life is ready and maybe all the revenue isn't there, but I'm going to figure it out?
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
Man, it was a disaster. I was making all this money, living a 6-figure lifestyle. I bought my first home. I was 25 years old. My wife and I, you know, married, had a kid. My daughter at the time was 2 years old. And I said, yo, matter of fact, when I wrote my first book, Black Enterprise, you know, wrote something on me. And back then magazines was,
there was everything.
That was everything. Yeah. So Black Enterprise.
Black Enterprise is the
yo, Black Enterprise said, you know what I'm saying? Get on
right
that.
There.
So I got on Black Enterprise, Hot 97. I said, oh, I walked into my job like, yo, I quit. Like I'm gone.
It is a CEO job.
No, I was at Carver Bank at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, so you know, after I left Chase, I went to Carver to, you know, run a black bank. I was like, oh, this is the black bank. I'm from Harlem.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go right to 125th Street. And I walked in, I talked to the bosses. I was like, listen, you know what? You know, it's time for me to go. You know, I thought I made it. You know what I'm saying? You know, I wound up getting a contract to teach financial literacy to foster care, you know, kids. So I was like, I'm lit. I got this little contract. It's going to help me out. And I'm going to be on television. And I'm going to become this multi-millionaire. And I didn't really understand entrepreneurship. And so I fell flat on my face. Home went through foreclosure. Car about to get repossessed. Like literally, not even using hyperbole. Like literally, I had to figure out how we were going to eat, man. It was like one of the most embarrassing times of my life because you got to think the fame didn't stop, though.
Exactly.
It didn't stop. So I'm still on television. I'm still doing book signings, trying to make this thing work. But then I go back home and I got a for sale sign on my lawn, because I can't afford the mortgage anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that taught me a very important lesson on making sure everything, like, you know, your numbers, like everything. Don't, you know, people say jump out on faith. I would never say jump out on faith, right? Faith is you believing in yourself and believing in what you plan, though, right? Like having a plan. It ain't saying, yo, I have faith that I can fly. You ain't never flew before. So no. Like learn aerodynamics. Like, all right, I'm gonna jump out this window, but I know that gravity's gonna make me fall to the ground. So I'm gonna jump out the window with a parachute and I'm gonna pull it like you gotta know all of that stuff. And I didn't. I jumped out and I thought I was gonna land on my feet, but I fell hard. But it was a great, I wouldn't take it back though, because what wound up happening was, matter of fact, I even threw a retirement party. Let me tell you how arrogant I was, right? Let me tell you how arrogant I was. I even threw a retirement party. So it was right before my 30th birthday.
You can't ever come back after that.
I was like, I had at the 40-40 club. Like I went crazy with it. Thank God. I think Facebook took away the albums because they're probably still on my Facebook, right? But I even did a retirement party, but I wound up having to go back to work, which again was a blessing because going back to work, I had a good resume. I chalked it up. I said, yo, you know what? I'm gonna go back to work. And that's how I got the opportunity to become a CEO of a credit union because I was working at Citibank. Then I started doing a lot of workshops in the neighborhood, and the person who owned the nonprofit that ran the credit union was like, we need a new CEO, and that's how I got that opportunity. But then I realized I was like, all right, after I went back to work, I said, you know what, I'm never gonna just quit cold turkey. So when I went back to work, I just started building my business at the same time, and it got to a point where I was making enough money where I could actually quit, but I didn't. I said, you know what? Let me still keep a job, but let me get less responsibility. So I demoted myself. I said, you know what? I don't want to be a manager no more. I'm going to work as a financial counselor. So I worked in Millbrook Projects in the Bronx as a financial counselor. Was still super duper famous. It was so funny because I remember one time I was at that time, Deja Vu and Earthquake had their show on WBLS, and I used to come in every Tuesday to do financial segments and stuff. So I'm in the projects downstairs in the basement, sitting down. I'm staying out the way. Right. I'm getting like 40,000-50,000 a year, but I just need that to pay the mortgage or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one day, WBLS was on, and one of my coworkers heard, and it was like, that sounds like the guy that work here. You know what I'm saying? And they came in, it was like, yo, you that guy. And the jig was up. So a few months later I left and went full time. But yeah, so it was a great example or a great experience that showed me that, you have to have a plan. And even though you have a plan, that plan may go in different directions. But don't fall for what everybody's saying that like, oh, you got to be an entrepreneur. My brother Storm Leroy always says that your job is your first business partner. And that's how we got to look at it. If you have a 9-to-5 right now, be grateful for it. Know that 9-to-5 is supporting your dreams. It's supporting your family. It's supporting your financial freedom. I've been an entrepreneur, and the only thing I was holding on to was, that being that entrepreneur. That's not a great feeling, especially because business happens. And so if you don't have a stable foundation, when business happens, it could literally destroy you. So if you have that foundation, hold on to it until you get to a space where in your business, like I'm at a space now where I make more than I need. So I'm cool. Like I'll go with the ebbs and flows. But if you're not at that space when you haven't really tested the waters yet and you don't really know, I would hold on to that security, hold on to that, and it's not, don't let people trick you into thinking that you don't have faith because you're holding on to what God gave you though.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Right?
Say that again.
Yo, like people be like, oh, like God is telling me to go this way, but God gave you the job too. So people be trying to trick you into thinking, look, I'm not gonna like if I hold on to this job, I'm showing God that I don't. No, God gave you the job. God gonna tell you when to leave. Hold on to what God gave you until God give you the sign, to live in abundance.
That's good. And even what you said, man, so many nuggets. Few of the things that stood out to me were, and especially I can see this happening even more so in today's age with social media. I tell folks all the time, you got to focus on being profitable, not popular.
Oh yeah,
Because you can be popular, like I said, between the, if you was the radio, but easily somebody could be on Instagram,
Yep.
they can be on TikTok and thinking they doing it.
Yep.
But like you said, not having control of those numbers.
Yeah.
And not having control of like, okay, this is how much I need to even, how much I know I need to survive, what my expenses are, how much I know I need to make. I have people that join our programs all the time and say, you know what, I never even looked at my expenses until I had to look to see if I had enough to afford signing up with you.
Right.
But having commanded those, right? So making sure, hey, I'm more profitable than I am popular. The other thing that stood out to me that you talked about was you had humility. Because a whole lot of people, no matter how bad stuff is, they wouldn't go back and get that job.
Yeah.
Because once you'd had the party, because I'm sure all of us think like, man, like they gonna be talking about me when I go in. But it's still getting past that to still go in there and be like, hey, I gotta provide for my family.
100%.
You know, I got a wife, I got a kid. Like I gotta get out there and put some resumes in, make some calls, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think too many people just get stuck, like I said, in that ego.
Yeah.
And what will people think of me? What will they expect? But people ain't paying your bills.
Exactly.
So you going back to do what you had to do for your family, man. I commend you on that.
And you know the other thing about that though is a lot of times people take delay as denial, right? I know what God told me. God told me I would be where I am, right? And greater. I knew that. But sometimes you gotta take a step back to take a step forward, right? Like I remember TD Jakes having, giving this example about the bow and arrow, right? The arrow doesn't have its full force until you pull it back. And once you let go, whatever's in the way of that arrow is going to be destroyed. And so people are so stuck on going one direction, but just know that the ups, the downs, the forwards, the backwards, all of that is all part of the process. The good, the bad, the ugly are all working for your greater good. Like I needed that, right? Think about this though for a second, right? If I hadn't gone through foreclosure, or we wound up saving the house, but potential foreclosure, if I hadn't knew how to like look for how to feed the kid, and eat, if I didn't have to quit, like how credible would I have been, right?
Yeah.
If I just quit I was making six figures, right? Left the projects, had this beautiful career, made six figures, and then jumped into an entrepreneur, and I was successful as an entrepreneur. Like, how credible would I be with anybody on the fence about leaving? No, this experience is helping me to this day as I talk to certain people and I, get to give them advice financially. And so, a lot of things have to happen, and we gotta trust fully though. Not only when we think it's good, we got to trust 100%,
That's good. That's good. All right. So now you're a full-time entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You leave the second time. Did you do another retirement party?
I didn't. No.
Okay.
I said, I went, the second time I went quietly. I was like, let me ease on out of here. Let me tip on out.
I'm making sure. I'm going to say, you're a bad boy if you did another one. Like, hey, we bigger, we badder. We never coming back. All right. So y'all here, full-time entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like now, was it totally like, hey, I'm blossoming, I'm doing the books. Like, what did that look like where you got like totally locked in and there was no coming back?
Yeah, I think for me, it was the books. It was creating multiple streams of income, right? Okay. So, I learned how to leverage my book to get other business. And so at the time, I thought I was going to become a millionaire through books. Like I was going to sell 1 million copies and that was what's going to do it. But what I realized was the book was a gateway to other things, speaking engagements, content marketing contracts, creating my own, groups and programs and things of that nature. So that's when I knew. I was like, all right, I'm good. Because I want to say, by the time I left the second time, I want to say it was like 2013. When I left the second time, I was probably making about 50, 60 grand from book sales alone. Right.
Yep.
And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm good. Cause I don't live a lavish life. So I was like, my mortgage is $1,500. I could do that off of 60,000,
Yeah.
And then speaking engagements and, being able to speak, I want to say, maybe at the time charging $5,000 to $7,000, $5,000, $7,000 for a speech. So I could do that. Then realizing that brands would pay you. So like, I've done stuff with, with Experian, with Credit Karma, like they, to be like an ambassador.
Yep.
And so as I started to realize that the more and more I was doing, the more I was putting myself out there as an authority, root word, author, right? As an authority in the space, it opened the door for everything else. 2014, I did my own radio show, the Ash Cash Show. I did that for about 4 years. That also gave me a second voice. So now, I'm doing radio. Now I'm bringing guests on there, and I'm doing affiliate program. There was just so many different streams of income that I was like, look, you was ready to quit with just one thought of one income, one source of income.
Yeah.
Now you got all these different sources of income that you could not necessarily fall back on, but you could like pump life into all of them. And that's what gave me the confidence to just quit. And really, because as I started to notice that my income that I was making as an entrepreneur was more than what I was, making at the job. And then I stopped loving the job. You know what I'm saying? Like it was routine. It was the same thing over and over again. I couldn't take certain opportunities because I had to ask for days off and things of that nature. And so that at that moment I took the leap of faith, right? Which is not really a leap. It's really like, all right, you don't know what's there, but you have a good idea that if you keep walking in the right direction, and you're walking towards freedom. And that's when I took it, and I was like, all right, I ain't looking back.
So I know you work with a lot of authors now.
Yeah.
Is that some of the principles that you teach them? Like, hey, we can take this book and then turn this book into multiple streams of revenue?
Yeah, 100%. So I have a program we call it 6FAB, but 6-figure author blueprint. Because anybody who has a story, anybody who has a business, anybody who has value and can help somebody with some type of problem and give them a solution, could easily make 6 figures with their book. And so what we do is really just help them start with the end in mind, right? A lot of people say, I want to write a book. And they start in the beginning with the book and then try to figure out the rest later.
What else can I do? How else can I make money now that I got the book? It's too late.
We're not doing that. 6-figure author blueprint is saying start with the end in mind. What does the end look like? What can you help people do? What is the solution? And then now create the business idea, right? Create the mastermind, create the group coaching. What kind of live events can you do? What kind of course could you do? And then now, by the time you get to this book, now you have a whole outline and you write the book to lead them into the business. And I've helped a lot of clients make 6 figures. I have one 7-figure client who followed this model and was able to kind of blow it out the water. But it's really just understanding that nobody cares about your story. Nobody cares about your story.
You might hurt somebody's feelings watching.
Nobody cares about your story. The only thing they care about is what your story could do for them.
That's good.
Right? And a lot of people be like, yo, I've been through this, I've been through that. I want to tell my story. Nobody cares. What you got to do is say, how will your story help somebody? Right? Right now, as somebody's listening to me, they're going to say, yo, I'm at that point. I'm ready to quit. But you know what? Because I heard Ash's story, I'm not going to quit just yet. I'm going to hold on to, right? And so they're not glorifying my story.
Right.
They're looking at the attachment of how my story is going to help them. And so that's why I tell everybody, take you out of it. Think about your clientele. Because if you're writing a story because you feel like God delivered you and you just want to tell your story, then you're not going to be successful. In fact, that was me. I have a book that I wrote with my daughter. And at the time I was like, oh, everybody gonna love this book. I was like, yo, it's a black man.
Black dad?
Right, black dad. I got my daughter. I put us on the cover. It's called Taylor's Way. Man, I wrote that book over a decade ago. If I sold 10 copies.
Wow.
And it's a great book.
Yeah.
But I wrote it for me. I thought the idea was good. I was confusing the audience because it's like Taylor's Way, life lessons learned through the eyes of a 3-year-old. Is it a kid's book? Is it an adult book? Did parents tell you they want to learn from a kid? Like I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't do the proper research. And so, I always tell people to start with the end in mind. Focus on your audience. Focus on the person that you can help though, and then work backwards. And even your cover, the title should be focused on them. Right. I remember I had a client who had this book title that was sentimental to them, but meant nothing to the audience. And they're like, oh no, this is a dope cut. I was like, Nah, this ain't it. All due respect, I love the sentimental part and how it connects to you and your family and all. I'm like, I love that. But the person who's reading it is going to be confused. They're going to read this title and not know what this book is about. And they wind up not changing the title, and the book did nothing.
Yeah.
It was a great book, you know? And so you always have to think about your audience. And that's what we teach them. And it's a great thing.
I'm curious, right? Back to one of your books. You mentioned you went back and put your face on the cover.
Yeah.
And I'm always interested when people do that or not. Was it because you had the notoriety, you were on the radio and things like that? You wanted to boost it for your personal brand, or is that something you recommend?
Yeah, so it depends who your audience is, right?
Okay.
So I'll give you a quick example. At the time I wrote that book, there was only Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey. Like, there weren't Black people writing about money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, fast out to Lynette Calfani. There was, you know, we were out there, but not mainstream.
Not like now. Yeah.
Not like now, right? And so, you know, it was Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, and I say, yo, I'm gonna put my face on it so they could know that this is a book specifically for Black people, right? Or it's a Black guy, because anybody can read it,
right?
But it's a Black guy giving you financial lessons, you know. So that's why.
So still was a marketing.
There was
where a lot of people just say, hey, this is my book.
Exactly.
I'm putting my cover on it, but then people looking like, I don't know you.
Exactly.
This don't make me do it.
And so,
but you had a specific strategic.
Another example though. The book that I did after that is called What the FICO, 12 Steps to Repairing Your Credit. What I need my face on that for, right? Because like, you know, credit repair, there's, you know, 7 out of 10 credit reports have errors in them. And that's white, Black, Spanish, Asian, it don't matter.
Yeah.
So from a marketing perspective, putting my face on a credit book wouldn't make sense. So it's you don't even know it's me until you look at the back of the book, and at that point you bought the book already.
Yeah.
And so I think that even putting your face, whether you choose to put your face on it, like your cover is part of your marketing as well.
That's good. Now, I know a lot of time when I see you speaking on stages, you're speaking about wealth and wealth mindset mentality.
Yeah.
What are some misconceptions you think people have when it comes to wealth?
Oh man, I think the biggest misconception people have is that the harder they work, the more money they'll make. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a big fallacy. I think that you know, one of my favorite books is called Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yeah.
And people focus on grow rich, but they don't focus on the think part, right? What I you know, the biggest misconception is that you could just work your way to wealth, but you have to think your way to wealth. You have to strategically figure out, you know, what do you have to, or who do you have to be in order to start to create wealth. And then also, people are afraid to invest in themselves. I've never met anybody wealthy who has not invested in themselves, right? You can invest your way to wealth, you know. You can't save your way to wealth. So, you know, that's another misconception that, especially our community, we're taught to save, and we hold tight onto this seed that was meant for us to plant.
Yeah.
But we're holding on to it, and because we're holding on to it, it's not in fertile soil, so it's not growing, right? The seed was meant for you to let go. It was meant for you to, you know, to plant it. It was meant for it to grow. And so, you know, investing, you know, making sure that we're investing first and foremost in ourselves, you know, investing, you know, real estate, you know, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But we got to invest in ourselves, because the truth of the matter is that even if you invest in a business, or if you invest in, you know, whatever you want to invest in, if you don't have the proper mindset, it ain't gonna work anyway.
Right.
That's why we see people, so many stories of athletes, entertainers, lottery winners make a lot of money and then lose it all.
Yep.
Because they didn't have the wealth mindset, right? So if you're giving wealth principles to somebody who have a poverty mindset, they're gonna go back to being poor. But you have to increase that, and so make sure you're investing in your knowledge, masterminds, so important, right? Because you want to get around people who have the result that you want and striving to that result, opposed to being a top of the bottom, getting advice from people who don't even understand what it takes to get where you want to go.
Yeah. Before we started taping, you talked about a quote And it was about kind of like stretching your mindset
Yeah.
and mentality. What was that piece? you
Yeah,
talking about?
Einstein said once a mind is stretched to a new size, it can never go back down. And so, again, growing up in the projects and growing up, low income, single parent home, the youngest of three, like my mother almost killed me when I told her I was gonna quit working to be an like entrepreneur. What the hell? What is that? Why are you cursing? Right? Like she didn't understand. And I love my mother dearly, but she didn't understand. And so I had to jump out and get around other people who saw the vision, who knew the vision. And that's how your mind gets stretched, right? Because, I was saying a story, and I'm gonna say this on record. Lamar is the first person that helped stretch my mind as far as being able to make a lot of money in a short period of time. I remember, I actually came to see the beautiful building. And at the time, I think the most I had made in a month was about 30,000 as an entrepreneur, right? And so I was weighing that as a bags. I'm like, yo, 30,000 in a month, like I'm killing it. And I remember, Lamar was like, man, yo, if you do this intensive, you can make about 30,000 in a day. And I'll be honest, like I was nervous when you said that because I was like 30,000 in one day. Like that never occurred to me. Like I've never thought about making that much money in a day. And so literally, like, I'm a master manifester, right? So like I meditate, I pray, like I know how to, manifest things in real life. So I remember like one of my routines is while I'm in the shower, it's so peaceful. I meditate on what I want. So I was meditating on this 30,000 in a day, 30,000 in a day. And I remember doing what you said. I was scared. And I was able to make 38,000, right? That, did the intensive, made 38,000 in a day. And that was the start of stretching my mind. Because then I started asking myself, if I can make 30,000 in a day, I wonder if I can make six figures in a day, and so on and so forth. And now I've been able to generate millions of dollars in one day, millions.
But like you said, it all starts with just even thinking. This, like, that's what I try to get across to people so many times. If you can't see it, right? We say all the time, you can't see it, you can't be it.
Facts.
But that's so true. Like if your mind, if it's impossible. And you think it like money just don't work like that. It's not that people say what? It's not that easy to make money, right? Money just don't grow on trees. All of this, but it's literally like when you stretch your mind and you realize that all things are possible, then how you operate is different. How you think about even the level of ideas you come up with is different. A lot of times you only have to come up with the idea. It's other people with the ideas. You just got to get in the right room, right? The ideas in the room, you just got to get there.
Yeah, that's the one, because that's what people don't realize, right? Success leaves clues. We are so focused on creating, like our ego is telling us, oh, I'll be the first to know. Get in a room, find somebody who has the level of success that you want, watch what they do, pay them whatever they charge, and do what they say, right? Man, you know how much money, like Lamar's made me so much money. He's made me so much money. Like everything from the way he runs his mastermind to his events. Like I'm not creating a wheel, I'm not recreating a wheel. What happens is Lamar's Lamar though. Ash Cash is Ash Cash.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, Lamar's gonna do it the way Lamar would do it. And so I'm not trying to be Lamar, right? Like I walk in, I'm Ash Cash. Like I'm like my mic keep popping. They got the lower volumes. I yell, right? So I'm being me, right? But the fundamentals don't change, right? Like I play basketball. The fundamentals of basketball don't change. I might, showboat a little bit, or I might do something that makes it like, oh my God, your ass is. But no, at the end of the day, the fundamentals are the fundamentals. And so getting in the room, like I know that's a buzzword right now.
Right.
Everybody's like, get in the room. Don't let the fact that things are buzzwords let you miss your blessing.
Oh, that's good.
Get in the room, because the room has already figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Like your mastermind, you already have 7-figure, 8-figure, like, you know what I'm saying? It's already there. So now when you come with your idea and now you're hearing how other people got their success, they're able to say, if I implement it this way, like my sauce, I'm going to implement it that way. And that's how you become successful. I don't believe there's any success that I've had that I did not borrow, a clue or a tip from somebody. Everything that I've done, I've watched somebody else do it. I paid to be in a room. I sat in the room and I was quiet. I was watching, I was listening, and then I implemented. Then I got a result, and I said, damn, I didn't get the result they got. All right, let me listen again, right? Because people get into a mastermind one time, and they're like, I'm gone. All right, I got everything I need. No, you don't. Keep coming, because things are going to change. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to adjust. So you always want to be in a space with people that are elevating, so that way, as you're implementing, you're able to elevate as well.
Yeah, and that's good, because even as you begin to implement, you begin to hear the same information differently.
Absolutely.
Right? I tell people a lot of times, even when we're doing, challenges, or, if they come into a conference or whatever, like you said, you got to stay tuned in and locked in.
Yeah.
Because the first time you hear something, right, most times you can't implement off the very first time you hear it.
Right.
Because your brain is just kind of like just being exposed to it.
Yep.
And it's just like trying to process, like, I don't get all the pieces. Even if you can implement, you can't implement 100%.
Yeah.
You maybe do 20, 30, 40, 50 tops.
Yeah.
But it's then once you've implemented, then boom. Now I got something. Now I got some data. Now I know what he or she was talking about when they mention this, so I can go back into the pit again, hear it from an entirely different lens, and say, all right, I got steps 1 through 4, what's 5 through 8?
Exactly.
And then let me go back and implement that.
And the great thing also is that I think Jay-Z once said, you only have to be right once, right? I'm sure, when you started TSP, it's like, all right, let me figure this out. But once you knew, like, yo, TSP, that's the one. Now, all you have to do is keep the foundation, that structure.
Yeah.
And as things are changing, all right, let me do this. All right, let me do this a little different. All right, let me do this a little different. But at your core, you are, and your company is what it is, right? That's the importance of getting in the room, because as a new entrepreneur, your this is new to you. You don't know nothing.
Right.
So now you need to get in the room to implement different styles, right? All right, let me try this style. Oh, this didn't work. All right, let me try this style. But then once you're right, once you try the style that works for you and you're right, now you know the core of your success. Now, when you get in the room, it's for a whole different reason. It's not to figure out the core, because you know what's working. Now it's to say, how do I take this core and 10x that core, or 100x that core, and take it to the next level? And so I love masterminds. I love, being around like-minded people. I love, not being a big fish in a small pond, right? Like, there's times where you could think you killing it. Right?
you getting that right room.
You getting that right room, and I be like, I'm telling you, like I'm in a mastermind. We're both in the mastermind where, like, when people were like, yo, I made $1 million in a day. I said, what? But then you cannot hear it.
Right.
You can't unstress your mind. And then you start to figure out, all right, bet, if that's possible, forget if I could do it. If it's even possible, let me at least attempt to do it.
And then we see it's possible across multiple people.
Exactly. Then you're like, nah, we got
to. Yeah. So if I say all the time, right, if everyone else can do it, why not you?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think people literally, going back to mindset, if they see people crossing the stage getting an award, if they see people posting on social, and valid people, that's real people, right?
Yeah.
Like Ash, right? Ash posts something on social. I ain't like,
right.
Come on, son. Nah, I know he out here. He's a person of ethical standards, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm seeing all these things happening, it's the main thing I always think about is, like I say, when I see it happen for other people, then that means it can happen for me too.
100%.
And I totally believe that I'm tapped in. I have the potential that everybody else has.
100%.
Like I said, just my way.
Exactly.
And I think even that point you hit on is so important, because everybody has something special about them, right? Like I play around too much. So when I'm on stage, I'm playing. Right. Does everybody like it? Nah, we get some people can play in the survey. But guess what? They're not my people.
Right, exactly.
But the people love somebody play too much. They can't get enough, right? I lean into my DMV vernacular even more when I'm on stage, right? All those things that make me uniquely me is all the things that I know that attract people to me. But as you said too, right, tying it in, man, you would drop a whole lot of nuggets, right? Like that abundance versus scarcity mindset. Having the abundance mindset, I also am not afraid to collaborate, to meet to connect with other people, to have other people like you on my show, right? To have amazing programs, amazing masterminds, amazing challenges, because I know that there's people watching that say, hey, Lamar, cool, but he ain't for me, right?
Yeah.
But they can see Ash Cash and say, now that dude, I need to connect. But knowing that, guess what? me and you could have the 2 biggest programs in the world
Yeah.
and still not touch everybody.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's I'm glad you said that, because I think that's what people don't realize. People don't realize that, yes, there are people for you, but there's also people not for you too, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't want anybody in my program that I irk, right? Like, I don't want anybody in my program that, like, I want to be energetic aligned with people. You know what I'm saying? I want people to appreciate me. I want, like I want this to be a give and take type of relationship. And what people who have lack mentality, they want everybody, because they think they could service everybody, but you could actually be hurting people, right? If you're not for them and you want them and you get them into your program, or if you get them into your space and you're teaching them and they're not, you could actually be hurting them, because they're not implementing, what you need them to implement the way it should be implemented. So, understand that abundance is your birthright. There is more than enough.
Right.
There is more than enough for everybody. We, like you said, we all have the same access, right? We're made in the image and likeness of God. Whatever you believe in, this is not religious. This is, whatever you believe in, whatever your higher power is, we have the same access to it. So if anybody else could do it, you could do it too. Just know abundance is your birthright.
I love it, man. Tell the people, if they want to find out more about you, how can they get in touch with you? What you got coming up?
Yeah, so you could go to my website, iamashcash.com. Follow me on all social media platforms, I Am Ash Cash. Everything is on my website, though. So my podcast, Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. You know what I'm saying? I got Lamar and Ronnie. You know what I'm saying? Inside the Vault, they're insiders, alumni. Check that out. But everything you have, my books, my programs, events, anything you need, just go to iamashcash.com and then follow me on all social media platforms.
Look, and I'm gonna tell y'all, this is serious, because Ronnie don't come out for most people's stuff, right? But Ronnie, we got the call from Ash. Ronnie was there front and center and making it happen.
Yes.
And you got a big event coming up too.
Yeah, listen, this event is going to be monumental. Matter of fact, like we call it the mega conference. It's happening in Miami, October 20th to the 22nd.
Okay.
We got some big dogs. We got TD Jakes.
Hold up, the Bishop?
Yo, the Bishop. Matter of fact, I think this is the first time the Bishop is speaking since he passed the throne to his daughter.
Wow, yeah. Which is a big moment.
It's a big moment.
Saw it everywhere.
You know what I'm saying? And so this is going to be the first time post-retirement, if you will, that he's going to touch the stage. And it's an honor, because, like, not everybody could get the Bishop. You know what I'm saying? You got to know somebody who knows somebody. And there was an energetic alignment, so we were able to get, Bishop T.D. Jakes. We got Grant Cardone. We got Myron Golden. I'll be on the stage. Marvin Mitchell, Storm Leroy, Ian Dunlap, Wall Street Trapper, like Eileen Wilder, Dr. Del Toro, Dr. Darius Daniels. Like, we got a
how you get all these people,
man,
in one place at one time?
Man, and it's just a blessing, because we're living at a time where people are saying that there's a recession, bad economic times, and things of that nature. And I believe that those times only exist if you want to participate, right? Don't let the news scare you. Don't let high interest rates scare you. There's a lot of money. The money doesn't disappear, right?
Right. Oh, that's good.
It doesn't disappear. It just means it's changing hands. And the people who are trying to make you afraid just don't want the hands to be yours. So they want you to be in fear, so you don't understand how to attract that money to you, so you can change the trajectory of your family's life. And so everybody on the lineup is going to teach you abundance principles, how to live in abundance, how to get to the path to prosperity, right? That's what it's called. So check us out, the Path to Prosperity Mega Conference. You could go to pathtoprosperityconference.com.
All right, there you go, y'all. You heard it directly from Ash Cash. So make sure you support him, follow him on social, and make sure you get your tickets to the Path to Prosperity Conference. I need to see if I can rearrange this thing. I'm kind of tight that week, but all the people, right? And y'all, let me just say this, right? Like, the three of y'all alone is enough. But then when you dial up everybody else, it might be overload.
It's different.
It might be overload.
It's different.
So listen, right? I want to make sure y'all support and check it out. And then make sure, we'll drop the link down below and post it below too. Make sure you go check out me and Ronnie's episode on Inside the Vault. Probably one of my favorite interviews.
Yo, barred up. Like when I tell you, like Lamar is the bar master. Like that interview was so impactful. You make sure y'all check it out. It was really an impactful interview. One of my favorite to even like watch. You know what I'm saying? So yo, check that out.
All right, y'all. We appreciate you and thank you for watching the show.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Traffic Sales and Profit Show. Hey, do me a favor. If you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe and follow us on this platform right now to make sure you do not miss a beat as we drop new episodes and additional content every single week. Also, if you'd like to get access to a free paperback copy of my book, access to the TSP Traffic Sales and Profit free Facebook group, our challenges, resources, our events, and more, make sure you visit us at www.trafficsalesandprofit.com/podcast.